Welcome to the Quit Vaping podcast, the podcast designed to make you a non-listener. In this show, I'm not going to scare you away from a life of vaping. What I am going to do is show you just how good your life can be without it. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to today's episode. And today we're going to talk about a concept that I've talked about a lot on this podcast, but I'm going to try to talk about it in a way maybe that is a new understanding for you. The most important thing that you need to get a hold of in your life to quit vaping, it really is the number one thing. If you're only going to do work on one thing, it's actually not your emotions, even though I think that's very important. But if you want to quit vaping, you have to manage your thoughts. So remember, before I get too off the wall with the thoughts today, there's two things you need to do if you want to quit vaping forever and to actually make it last and to not jump into the throes of another addiction. You have to understand what emotions you're using nicotine to avoid, learn how to process those emotions. That's really important. And then also you have to learn how to manage the thoughts in your head. And you might be thinking, like, what does it mean to manage your thoughts? It means to choose to think and believe things on purpose. That's a skill set. That's the only skill set that matters. Do you know why it matters so much? Because what you think is possible for your life is the life you end up creating for yourself. Not because of anything external, because of what you decide to think, which oftentimes our thoughts have no basis in facts. Okay? The whole entire point of this podcast is to help you understand how to change your thoughts. There's a lot of quit vaping programs or quit smoking programs out there, namely Alan Carr, who just changes your thoughts for you. I don't think that's a sufficient skill set, and I want to take it one step further. In order to change a habit, you have to understand that the reason you're no longer taking an action like vaping is because your thoughts about that action have changed. Remember, your thoughts create your emotions, which drive your actions, okay? Remember, your actions are driven by your emotions. So that's where the emotional element comes in. You have to understand what emotions you're feeling, and that's why you're taking action. If you're feeling anxiety and you've trained yourself not to feel anxiety, you're going to use something like nicotine to get out of it, okay? That's why it's so important to understand the emotional part of this work, because I don't want you to not understand your emotions, change your thoughts, and then just jump into other addictions. But when it comes down to it, your thoughts are what create your emotions, and your desire, your drive to want to use nicotine in vaping is caused by your thoughts. The reason why I no longer have the desire to vape is because I no longer think thoughts intentionally that create the desire to vape, that create any wanting for nicotine. That's it. And you might think, Andrew, that's crazy. It doesn't work. 100% it works. If you don't agree with me, I really want you to go to the personal development of any bookstore and pick out any book. And the main message of that book is going to teach you how to control your thoughts. If you still don't believe me, you can go to any religious section of anything and you can go and find out that really the root message to religion and spirituality is learning how to manage and think things on purpose. If you still don't believe me, you can go to the Dalai Lama, who was asked by a coach that got certified in the same program as me, what should I do with all of this money that I just got blessed with as a grant? And he told her, teach people how to manage their mind, right? Regulate their thinking. If you still don't believe me, then what I want you to do is look at all the results you have in your life and then ask yourself, why do I have these results? And you're going to get a whole bunch of belief systems, thoughts. Beliefs and thoughts are the same thing that support the results you have, because that is what's creating the results. If you still don't believe me, go up to someone in your life who has results in their life and ask them to give you advice, and they're going to give you their thoughts that are going to create the exact same results they have, because their thoughts are creating their results, okay? So the name of this podcast episode is so creatively, Stop Thinking That. And the whole entire point of that title is that it implies you have the control of what you want to think and believe. So let me say this. I was on a TikTok live today, and I'm a little bit fired up about it because somebody on a live today came on and they said they were attacking me about the thoughts. They're like, no, there's no way that if I change my thoughts, I just won't want nicotine anymore. And I was explaining to them that's exactly what's going to happen, because when you no longer have a thought like I love nicotine, which is an optional thought, or nicotine helps me feel better and have more fun at parties, which is an optional thought, when you don't think that thought and you don't believe it, you will no longer desire to use nicotine at parties. This isn't magic, people. This is called thought work, and it's the most important thing you can do. And it's also a skill set not being taught to people in universities. It's a skill set not being taught to people in the clinical world of psychology in general, not to the level that life coaches do it. It's a skill set that is being taught by people who are really wealthy, who write books, who are really smart. It's a skill set that's being taught by life coaches who help you to create the results you want in life. It's a skill set that's going to change your entire life. It's a skill set that's being taught by religious leaders and by philosophers and by everyone that's like renowned for being intelligent. Like, you have to learn how to manage your thoughts. And if you're walking around saying, I love vaping, it helps me with stress, and you want to quit vaping, you have to change those thoughts, which are completely optional, and then you'll stop vaping, okay? But I want to remind you, although that you can completely just change your thoughts and then you'll quit vaping or smoking, and that's exactly what Alan Carr's program does. If you've ever heard of him, he has a book called The Easy Way to Quit Smoking and Vaping. And yes, what he does is he literally just tells you what to think, and then because your thoughts change about nicotine and vaping and smoking, you no longer desire it. That's exactly what he's doing. But I think it's important to teach you the skill set of understanding why that's working, okay? When you change a thought, the emotions in your body when thinking about something change. For example, when I look at a vape, my genuine thought is, I don't want to hit that. That's a thought that I've practiced. And you know why I believe that? Because I don't believe that I'm someone who vapes anymore. That's a thought that I've also practiced. So when I look at a vape, I have absolutely no desire to hit it. Now, when somebody who's quitting vaping looks at a vape and they think, oh, that looks really good, or they subconsciously think to themselves, I'm not going to have as much fun tonight if I don't get to buy a vape and go hit that for a night, then you're always going to have desire to hit it. And then you're going to be at willpower, right? Where you're actually having a desire, but you're not letting yourself fulfill that desire, so you're pushing it. So remember, there's two things you need to do if you want to quit vaping, and I take it one step further than everybody else. I want to teach you the skill set of metacognition. That means that you actually learn the skill set of looking at your own thoughts and beliefs, and by making sure that you like them, and if you don't, you actually learn the skill set of changing them. That's called metacognition, looking at your own thoughts and determining which ones serve you. Now, the other skill set I teach is called emotional regulation, right? Let's figure out what emotions you haven't learned how to process that you're currently using nicotine to process, and let's learn how to be with those emotions. And what I want to offer is that while you're quitting vaping, if you still have the desire to vape because your thoughts haven't completely changed about it, that's okay. Because the skill set of emotional regulation, sitting with those emotions without reacting to them, is going to allow you to not respond to a craving when you have one. So you can still have thoughts supporting nicotine and not use nicotine if you have emotional regulation. So the skill set I teach is a complete, fully comprehensive way for you to learn how to manage your actions, quit vaping, and manage your mind, right? Manage your mind and your body, your emotions. It's a very important skill set. But the very thesis of everything I do is learning how to manage your thoughts. Because right now, if you're vaping and you don't want to be, there's a part of you that believes that you do want to be, and it's thinking that all the time, and that's why you can't stop. Because when you try to quit vaping without changing your thoughts about vaping and who you are as a vapor, it's impossible, and you're always going to be using willpower. That's exactly what willpower is. You're using your own power against your own will, your own thoughts, your own mind, okay? So what I want to say is that if you're vaping and you want to quit, stop thinking thoughts that create the desire. Right? And there's some things you got to do. Like, you have to understand what it feels like to actually be in a craving. So many people, they have no idea what they're feeling in their body. And if you don't know what you're feeling, what emotion you're feeling, it's hard to find the thoughts that's creating it. Because remember, your thoughts create your emotions. This is the skill set that we teach, right? Let's figure out what's going on in our body. It's a really good place to start. And now I can name the emotion. It's very easy to find the thoughts creating it. If I'm feeling anxious, it might be because I'm thinking something like, I'm in danger, I'm not safe, I won't have as much fun tonight. If I'm feeling a craving, it might just be because I'm thinking the thought, I like vaping. I want to hit a vape. It feels good, right? So you want to be able to feel what emotions in your body and name it. Very important skill. And then the whole reason we do that is because once you name an emotion, you can find the thought that's creating it. And if you can find the thought that supports vaping and you intentionally choose to stop thinking it and you replace it with a thought that doesn't support vaping, you will no longer vape. If you do this over and over, you'll quit. This is exactly the skill set I teach people. And again, I always want to tell you, it's not just about vaping. Like the skill set of thought regulation is so important, because if you are in any result in your life that you don't like a relationship you're not happy with, or like a job that you're not satisfied with, or you're not financially at the place you want to be, or you don't live where you want to be, or you're not going after the goals you want, or you have 1,000 other addictions and habits you want to stop doing, the reason is always 100%, without any exception, your thoughts, which are creating your emotions, which are driving your actions. Or sometimes, in some cases, your inactions, because a lot of the times we have emotions that we don't want to deal with, so we just don't take actions that would make those emotions confront us. For example, A lot of people stay in really shitty jobs that they hate, and the reason is because they're too scared to go and take different actions and to put themselves out into uncertainty to find something better, or because they might experience failure or rejection. So a lot of us, when we have scary emotions, we just don't act at all. But if you're vaping, what you're doing is you're having the scary emotions and then you're just numbing over them with an artificial hit of dopamine, which is not solving anything, and it's not teaching you the skill set that's going to let you quit vaping and then actually go after the life that you want the most. So I just talked for 10 minutes straight, and that's crazy. I love that. A little intense this morning, but I think it's so important because if you do not understand that your thoughts create your desire, your emotions in general, and that your thoughts are completely optional and not based in fact, then you're going to be in a life that's very out of your control. And that's exactly what's happening if you're trying to quit and you can't. Okay? Your thoughts are optional sentences in your mind. They sound like this. I'm having a really hard time quitting vaping. I really like vaping. Vaping helps me feel good. Vaping helps me with anxiety. All of those thoughts, completely optional. Completely optional. And those optional thoughts are creating emotions that make you want to vape. Okay? Let me give you an example of some thoughts that don't make you want to vape that you can actually just choose to believe. And here's the crazy thing about your mind, if you don't understand this, is that you can literally choose to believe anything and you'll actually start to believe it. It's freaking wild. By the way, if you don't believe me, look up any psychological study about the manipulation of the human consciousness because they're doing it all the time, and that's exactly what brainwashing is. Okay? And there's plenty of psychological data out there if you're very scientific minded. If you want to look at like the actual stats and all of this and all the formal studies with blind results and randomization, like go check it out. I promise you'll find it. Anyways, you can think anything. So let me give you some examples of thoughts that I think now that create zero desire to use nicotine and make me feel very confident that I'm never going to go back to it. 1, I'm not someone who vapes. 2, I am not someone who enjoys nicotine. Did you know you could actually just choose to believe that thought? I am not someone who enjoys nicotine. Holy shit, you can just choose to believe that? Yes. And you know what's funny is that if you choose to believe that and you find evidence for it, you're actually going to come to realize that you probably never enjoyed nicotine. You were just telling yourself you did, even though it was making you feel sick and anxious and gross. Another thought that I like is I can do hard things. So if you want to hold on to it's very, very difficult with vaping and you're in that, that's okay. But you could just think the thought, but I can do hard things. And next time you're sitting in front of a vape at a party and you want to hit it and you're having a craving, you can think the thought instead of, oh my God, I'm going to have so much fun if I hit that, which you're probably thinking, you can think the thought, I can do hard things. Another thought that I have for vaping, it does not fit into the person who I am. It just doesn't. I don't see myself as a vapor anymore. I see myself as someone who's overcome an addiction and now has learned the skill set of emotional regulation. So I'm not even concerned that that's who I am anymore. And guess what? That's a really powerful thought. When you no longer identify as a vapor, which is completely optional, by the way, and you can just do that at any moment, even if you're still vaping, you can actually start to identify as a non-vapor who vapes, and then you're going to start to feel cognitive dissonance, and then you'll have way less desire, if you believe that, to hit your vape. That's like a real thing you can do right now. Then you're going to have way less desire. And then eventually you're going to get to the place where because you don't believe you're someone who vapes, you just don't even have any desire. There's no thoughts. It's just totally out of your mind, which is where I'm at today. Okay. Your thoughts are optional sentences in your mind. The whole entire point of the work that I do in the world is to teach you that and to also teach you that your thoughts are creating your emotions and desire to use something is an emotion. Okay. So if you can learn how to manage your thoughts and regulate your emotions, you will become a non-vapor for life. It is that simple. It is uncomfortable. I'm going to be so honest with you. But you know what's so funny is that discomfort is the currency of your dreams. So if you're not willing to step into discomfort to quit vaping, I promise you, you're going to be in a job you hate and live a small life. There's no other option for you. Because if you're not willing to step into discomfort, you're going to have to stay in your tiny comfort zone, which is really, really uncomfortable if you think about it. Because nobody likes being in the same place they were 10 years ago. But the only way to change that is by learning how to step into emotions you haven't stepped into before. That is what growth is. That is the entire purpose of discomfort and growth. That's how you move forward in life, okay? So this is all a very compassionate work. There's never any shame involved. There's never any guilt involved. This work is here to teach you a skill set that is really of the utmost compassion for you to learn. And I think that sincerely every adult should be learning this skill set. If you want to quit vaping, you need to take control over your mind. That's something that you can 100% do. And I want to throw in one more note here because you might have a question about this. No, you cannot control every single random thought that comes into your mind. There's a lot of shit that's been programmed into us, and we just have random thoughts that come from God knows where, our childhood or anything. So can you control every single random thought that comes in your mind? No. But can you control every single thought that you choose to believe and believe is true? Yes. And that's where all your power is, okay? So when you're sitting there and you're trying to do thought work and you have a craving and your brain's like, ooh, that looks really good, you can go, actually, Andrew reminded me that although that thought might have been automatic, the one that I choose to believe that I'm choosing intentionally right now isn't automatic. And that's what I want to become automatic. The new thought I'm going to choose is, actually, I don't want that. It's not going to improve my life. And I'm a strong person who can do hard things. Choose that thought and most of your cravings are going to go away. And the rest you can sit with because you're a strong person who can do hard things. Okay? If you want help quitting and you want to learn the skill set on a deep level, I'd sincerely recommend you join my program because it's the best $97 you're ever going to spend. I sincerely believe that. That's why I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. And remember, I'm only offering it for the first 100 students, and I'm filling up pretty quickly. So have a nice day. What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the show and that each episode is bringing you one step closer to becoming a non-listener. If you'd like to take all this information to the next level and finally quit vaping for good, you can check out the course link in my bio. Have a great day. See you next week.